So, what are you capable of doing? Was the question. And the question is something that I consider extremely important. In fact, I believe the mindset of concealed carry is much more important than the equipment that you have. In fact, our mindset dictates the equipment that we carry. If I am someone who has minimal training and I'm going to carry my firearm in deep cover, such as an ankle holster or maybe one of those shirts that goes underneath your clothes that you can carry your firearm in, or even the crossbreed and alien gear style holsters that are tuckable, things like that. We understand that we're already limited on speed. So if we're in deep cover, we understand that, number one, no matter what the issue is, our response is going to be slow, but also it's going to be a decision to be made at the time. If we have a gun in our face and we have minimal training as well as deep cover, our best case scenario is probably to not go for a firearm, or at least not indicate that we're going for a firearm when we're already covered by the bad guy, so to speak. Also, another thing to consider, and another part of this mental concept, is what are we willing to do? Many people carry concealed, and rightfully so, to protect themselves and their immediate family. And if something happens to them, or something happens to their significant other or their children, and they are present, they will do what it takes to respond to that. A lot of times, because that is their intention, you don't see full-size firearms, you don't see extra magazines, and many times not the level of training that some others are willing to go to. But they may be even higher trained than those who think more on a respond to whatever level. What is important is for us to decide what we are comfortable with and then train for that scenario. If it's deep cover, then how is it that I'm going to get to my firearm in a way that I don't get injured or even killed trying to get to it? And also, what am I going to carry that is going to fit what I'm willing to respond to? So if it's a situation where someone's coming at you because they are high, or they are angry about a road rage incident or something like that, we could get away with a 6-round revolver, or a 5 or 6 shot mouse gun, or things like that may be what you choose to carry. Maybe your clothing is dictated by your job, and your concealed carry has to be small and can never be discovered. Then we have to ask ourselves the question, not only what am I willing to respond to, but what does this do to my livelihood? What does this do to my ability to make a living? All of these things go into the process of deciding what we are capable of and what we're willing to be involved in. As we look further with the mouse guns, obviously there are some people who carry the smaller gun out of convenience and comfort. They're light, they're easy. There's so many that you can drop in your pocket now, or put in a handbag, or put in your waistband, and they just disappear. And they're giving you 5, 6, 7 rounds of ammunition for whatever situation you're in. So the mindset that needs to be there is, okay, what am I capable of responding to with my skill set, with my firearm, with the amount of ammunition that I have? And of course, we're never discounting the fact that someone may have amazing abilities, but we also know that the smaller the firearm, the more limited the abilities of that firearm are, especially with the sight radius. We just don't have the same ability to shoot accurately beyond a certain space. So if you are not the guy who's just caring for himself or his family, maybe you say, well, if I see someone being carjacked, or if I see someone being robbed, or if I see someone being assaulted, then I will respond to that. Well, then that needs to go into our training, that needs to go into the selection of firearm that we carry. All of those things need to be thought through, and the legal aspects need to be looked at very carefully. If you're someone who has a background that has allowed you a higher level of training, and maybe you've had active shooter, or you have been involved in some kind of tactical teams, or you've been involved in law enforcement or military or some type of armed security, and you have a level of training that prepares you for a deeper or more broad array of responses, then there's still some considerations that we need to have. Number one, what am I walking into? Let's consider this. If I'm in Walmart and I'm carrying a 380 mouse gun with 7 rounds of ammunition in my pocket, and someone starts an active shooter event on the other end of Walmart, I can tell from listening that it is a AK-47. I can't go against an AK-47 without some circumstances really falling in my favor with a 380 pocket pistol. That is a situation that I'm going to lose. Certainly not questioning or trying to downplay the level of training or even accuracy or familiarity with the firearm that you are carrying, but we do need to make some decisions, some conscious decisions about what we are capable of and what we're willing to be involved in, and that would dictate what we carry and not the other way around. We also need to talk through those situations where the risks are just too high. I think of this very often. If I'm carrying in deep cover, which is something I do occasionally depending on the circumstances, and someone comes up and my family is present and they want my wallet, well, the question I have to ask in that moment is, making a move that potentially will get my family hurt or worse, or myself hurt or worse, more important than giving the guy the worthless proceeds of my wallet? And in most cases, the risk is just not worth it. As much as my ego and my background wants to say, hey, you can't rob me, that's not what's going to happen here, I have to think it through from a logical standpoint. And then finally, let's just talk about the repercussions of a shooting. For those who have been involved in shootings, for those who have lived those nightmares, whether they were in legal capacity, whether they were in the military, whether they were in law enforcement, they would tell you that it's nothing like you think it will be. You can make all of the bravado about it that you want and pretend that you don't care. There are some very intense thought processes that go into the fact of, hey, now I have used my firearm. Now I have taken another life. Now someone's son, someone's daughter, someone's husband, someone's wife has lost their life. Maybe they're not worth much to society. Maybe they're a dopehead. Maybe they have lived off of everybody else. Maybe they're a violent criminal. Maybe they have some serious problems. But there are unintended consequences. There are families, there are children, there are husbands, there are wives, there are grandparents that are hurting because of this incident. And I'm not saying don't defend yourself because of that, but I think it's very important that we think through this process and come to some realization and some logical realities in our thinking before we put on a firearm for protection. Now, while I will be the first to tell you, you should probably take advantage of the Second Amendment. You should probably carry a firearm if you are permitted to. You are a citizen of a country who has a constitution who backs that up, and I believe there is even biblical precedent for self-defense. The process of defending one's family and one's home and one's own life is something that is quite clear. With that being said, what are we truly capable of. We've discussed and put a lot of questions out there, and the answer cannot be answered by me or any instructor who has much more knowledge, or any person who's been in these incidents, or have seen the consequences, or has any level of schooling or training. No one can answer that question for you. You have to answer it for yourself. And remember this, you're never going to exceed your level of training if you are able to perform better than what you have practiced. It will be something other than the usual result. So train, think it through, put yourself there. And when we look through these difficult and very thought-provoking, sobering questions, we may find ourselves carrying a different way. Hey, I'm the Packin Pastor, and if you like our content, if you enjoy seeing the guns and the reviews and all the talk, hey, smash that subscribe button, like, follow, share us. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and right here on YouTube. We appreciate it.